Campfire Audio Solaris Stellar Horizon is here, the most radical redesign we've seen yet on a Solaris. And that includes various limited and special editions. But with the new $2,670 price tag, is this just a refinement or is this a reinvention? Campfire Audio has a history of periodically re-releasing older IEMs, sometimes re-releasing one with subtle tweaks like the Andromeda 2020, and sometimes going a little heavier into the retuning and redesign like the Dorado 2020. With Solaris, there have been several subtle steps in the evolution with the original, the 2020, and then various special editions that kind of accentuated different aspects of the Solaris. And then also add in the Astral and Kern collaboration Pathfinder, which was pretty Solaris-y. So, have we gone through that whole process to create something truly new? Let's take a closer look. Listen, there's a lot to talk about here, but let's start with the box. The box that Solaris comes in transforms into a display case, and you get this sort of disembodied hand that holds your IEMs. So for people asking what the real difference is between the 2020 or original Solaris and the Stellar Horizon is, I basically say it's the disembodied hand. In addition to that, you get a redesigned case, usual selection of ear tips, 3 cables with 2.5, 3.5, and 4.4 millimeter terminations. And this is the new sort of flat cable design. I think it's called the Time Stream cable that we've been seeing Campfire use since with the Pathfinder and then the Trifecta. Along with that, you get your certificate of authenticity, warranty, and all of that. And Campfire has created a line of trading cards. So the Solaris Stellar Horizon one is included in this package. There's also a number of other trading cards available, and you can buy them in packs to try to get, all your favorite Campfire headphones and IEMs in trading card form, as well as having the actual one. Now, between the cards, the case, cables, the disembodied hands, this is a pretty great package. But let's take a closer look at the IEMs themselves. Solaris Stellar Horizon's design is really unique. I feel like the faceplate almost looks like pieces of some kind of ancient star chart or like a science fiction map of the solar system or something like that. I've even seen some people say it has almost like a steampunk vibe to it. All in all, very cool design and very solid construction. It's a stainless steel shell. It has really good heft to it, but remains light enough to be comfortable in your ears so that you're not really thinking about the weight of the IEM once you have it in. So just great all-around package design and update here to Solaris. Solaris Stellar Horizon continues the sonic evolution of Solaris with the most revealing technical take on Solaris yet. It maintains that balanced, natural character that has sort of been core to Solaris's identity, but steps up the performance in just about every way. Bass is a little tighter than previous versions of the Solaris, dialing back some of that warmth that you get in the transition from the bass into the low mids, but still maintaining just the slightest bit of that warm, lush character there. And definitely just maybe a little bit less of a fun low end than, some versions of the Solaris or like the Pathfinder collaboration there. The mid-range delivery is full, thick, and rich, offering a natural timbre, great sense of weight and body to instruments and voices. As you go into that upper mid, it's somewhat similar to the 2020 Solaris's more forward upper mids, but it refines it a little bit, giving you great vocal performance with both male and female vocals. That's well balanced there, and just delivers that sort of intimate, holographic vocal delivery. Treble has a nice bit of snap and sparkle with good air at the top. My impression of Pathfinder and previous Solaris is that there was always just a slightly relaxed bit in there. And Stellar Horizon does kind of dispense with anything being really relaxed and just gives you a really energetic high end. It's definitely not fatiguing. Again, balance is kind of one of the key words here, and it is really well balanced. In fact, it removes some aspects of, like I said, the 2020 that some did find fatiguing, and refines that while giving you this revealing top end, a great resolution, and all of these sort of top end characteristics. I think it comes together, and it really helps in the creation of the stereo image, where you do have this big, wide, three-dimensional sound stage. You can hear good depth, good width in there, in the imaging, the positioning, all of that. And it just really, again, it just kind of enhances on previous versions of the Solaris, where you did have a pretty solid sound stage typically, but this really takes it up a step to the next level. For comparison, we thought we'd bring in the 64 Audio U12T and the Noble Sultan. For the U12T, it's just a great all-around IEM at $2,000. And when we're looking at, IEMs in the $2,500 or $3,000 price range, you have to ask, is it better than the U12T to kind of earn that spot? With the Sultan, when I first heard it, I kind of almost felt like it was just like a better version of the Solaris in some ways. So now that we have a new version of the Solaris, it's been a couple years, you gotta ask the question, has Solaris caught up with Sultan to sort of challenge it, who's better now, kind of question. In terms of the build and design, the look of it, Stellar Horizon kind of gets aspects of both what 64 Audio does and what Noble does in this design. With this really solid stainless steel shell, just kind of looking at the underside of the IEM, I guess, you could almost see some elements of that more utilitarian 64 Audio design that does make a really sturdy, well-built IEM. But looking at the front, again, you get something that's really well designed, just a great aesthetic to it. And so, in the aesthetics, it definitely exceeds what 64 Audio has been doing. And in the, build, the sturdy elements of it, it does feel a little bit more robust than Sultan does. So again, it really gets some of the best of both worlds on this. And again, the package is really incredible, which elevates it here, even though Sultan's case is a little bit more, a little bit more of a useful case there. I found that new leather case, it makes me a little bit nervous. So other than the case, I think Solaris really runs away with this one. In terms of the sound, starting with the bass, I think the U12T, it does have the most bass presence, the most volume in the bass. And I think Sultan has a little more than Stellar Horizon, but I felt the Stellar Horizon really had the best qualities in the bass in terms of the texture, the level of detail you feel in those lower end instruments, and even just those attributes like the pluck of the bass. Solaris just has a little bit more than them, especially U12T has a pretty good bass presence, especially considering its balanced armature. Feels a little bit smoother, again, less textured than Solaris, and Sultan just doesn't feel like it has quite the same detail in the bass as Solaris does. In the mid-range, both Sultan and U12T have aspects of the mids that feel a little bit pulled back from what Solaris does, so you do get those really full mid-range with Solaris, where U12T, again, it has that sort of Harman thing going on, so there's elevated bass and some elevated treble, And there's good neutral detailed mids in U12T, but they don't have that fullness and richness of Solaris. And this is especially notable in the vocals, where I feel U12T can sometimes leave certain vocals a little behind in the mix. Solaris elevates them and brings them more forward. And kind of in the upper mids, in that transition, to the upper mids and the low treble, both Solaris and U12T remain highly coherent there. And I've always felt Sultan could lose a little bit of coherence on some tracks. I think it's because of the nature of the balanced armature EST relationship that you can just lose a little bit there, where Solaris hangs on to that better, as does U12T, with just the balanced armatures right up from the mids into the treble. But then when you get to the treble, you do see the advantages of Sultan's electrostatic top end, where you just get this little bit of extra resolution. The words hang on a little bit longer when a singer does. The violins just have a little bit more of a bite to them, when you can almost feel that bowing a little bit more. There's a little more of a tactile sense there with the electrostatic treble. And Solaris comes really close. It does give you some of that, but that last sort of millisecond of decay, Sultan does a better job there than Solaris or U12T. And so it's very close here. Sultan definitely, I think, has the edge in that treble. Again, when you're not worried about that transition there, that just little bit of technical edge goes to Sultan in the treble. And that kind of brings us to the imaging and soundstage qualities. And this is where I just kind of left my head spinning, trying to, rate different aspects of this. And I'm like, man, all three of these are highly three-dimensional, very well put together, holographic presentation. And it's really hard to, you can pick out the vocals being a little stronger in Solaris here, but other more high-end instruments feeling, more vivid and immersive with Sultan, but then maybe U12T having a better balance overall. And they're just really, all three of them, amazing IEMs. And even in the differences we've talked about, it does come down to, pretty small pieces here. And I think that speaks really well to Solaris, but really all three excellent IEMs with just these small details that separate them and help you make your decision when you're looking at buying one. There are two key questions that we needed to answer, I think, for Stellar Horizon. One is, with that new price point, do the improvements in the tuning, the performance, quality, does that justify that higher price? And the other one is, does it retain the core qualities of a Campfire Solaris? So in terms of the sound and performance, I think in our comparison section, we really covered this, how it really does hang with these $2,000, $3,000 flagship IEMs. And I really do think it's elevated and refined those past versions of the Solaris and combined aspects of those to be something more than the previous version. And in that, I think I've answered the other question, which is, does it retain that core quality of the Solaris? And I think if we can kind of boil the Solaris down to being this a highly natural sounding, highly balanced, and slightly warm hybrid IEM, Stellar Horizon definitely nails that. So with all these changes, with everything else, it delivers a flagship sound and retains the core characteristics that have made so many people fall in love with Solaris. Thanks for watching. You can check out Stellar Horizon, the rest of Campfire's new lineup, and a lot of other great products at bloomaudio.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon with more hi-fi personal audio content.